I want to ask you about the the removal of intelligence professionals. I know that's a matter of concern and it's an important issue, but I also want to ask you about some very specific military actions, and we may not have time to get into everything here. When the president made an announcement recently that this August, I believe it was, that he had repositioned two nuclear submarines into appropriate regions. He did that in response to some nuclear saber-rattling by a former Russian official, or current Russian official, I guess, former president in Russia. Was that unnecessarily provocative, do you think?
I, certainly unusual, and I hadn't seen it done before. But one of the things that I think it's important to understand is I'm not reading the intel. I don't have the inside information. And so, quite frankly, and I've been worried about on the nuclear side about Russia and Putin for some time because Putin has saber-rattled on nuclear weapons even before he went into Ukraine and certainly since that time. So obviously the president thought that was something he should do, and so he did it specifically. We don't, we don't disclose the positions of those submarines to, for obvious reasons. But he thought it was something that would have an impact. So I thought it was pretty unusual. Honestly, I don't think it compromised them because I think they're pretty hard to find anyway. And I think along with a lot of other people, he was talking about our ballistic missile submarines, strategic ballistic missile submarines. But, he could have been talking about our attack submarines as well.
There are now reports that 8 warships have been sent to the Caribbean and to the Pacific as well, as a part of a military effort to combat drug cartels. This is an area that has previously been considered a law enforcement responsibility. What's your take on that?
Well, we've been fighting the drug war for a long time. And I participated in that as a commanding officer, in particular as a commanding officer cruiser, back in the early to mid 90s. We've always done that. And these 8 ships, as I understand it, have Coast Guard detachments on them. And so the law enforcement arm on these ships is really the Coast Guard, who are legally allowed to make arrests, et cetera. But also, Warren, when I think about this, and this is the challenge with the drug issue, as it has been for a long time, we in the U.S. still have a long way to go to turn down the demand signal. And my own experience is these drug lords will figure a way to get it in the country almost no matter what we do. And they're willing to pay a pretty high price of overhead, 10, 20, 30%, in order to do that, even as we capture or deter. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do that. I think it's a pretty strong message that clearly the administration is very serious about doing everything it can to stop the flow. And I think that's really important. And it's legal. So I'm not surprised. And the Navy, in particular, Navy and Coast Guard, have been doing this for decades in terms of operations. I think this obviously increases the number of ships that are normally assigned to that operation. And I think that's obviously an emphasis that the president wants to project.
What do you think all of this does in terms of the way that the United States is viewed by foreign countries, both allied countries and the countries that are not, haven't been friendly to us?
Well, I think it creates a lot of uncertainty about the relationships. It creates a lot of uncertainty about the alliances. I will, and in particular, I mean, NATO's obviously been through a lot and is heavily focused, as it should be right now, on Russia and Ukraine, and has certainly gotten the message that they're going to need to spend a whole lot more on defense than they have in the past and not just depend on the United States. They have that message. And that was a message I brought to them 20 plus years ago, that they needed to do more than they were doing. So that, to me, that's a very positive outcome of the current strategy. But I think there is a lot of uncertainty with respect to the United States and our alliances and how we would stand up to them and how much more each country or each region, as the case might be, is going to have to do on its own, certainly even as we may continue to support certain countries or certain regions.
Next week, it's going to be UC Davis Professor Mary Ziegler in conversation with Pat Morrison about the politics of abortion power and how abortion shapes American politics. Be sure to listen to that. In the meantime, have a good night tonight.